If you're if you're a fan of this team, you could still take a piss out of your own team. That's to me is kind of like what I find funny about Arsenal sometimes is the people that are like, of course, I mean, you should worry about the shady stuff that's going on and us fucking up and everything. But you could, come on, don't do that, Tony.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ, you and your demented pictures. Anyway, what I was on about is...
Imagine my tongue in that. Anyway.
Can you... No, I don't want to. Can you delete that, please?
I can imagine you eating a digestive out of it.
Yeah, that sounds good. Drinking a pint out of it.
The last point I wanted to make is the one thing I love about Arsenal is we are sometimes funny, and I can legitimately laugh at us when we have our banter moments because like sometimes it's not funny, but then again you have dudes like Granit Xhaka who can only do things with his left foot, and Mustafi who slide tackles air and like runs around with his hair on fire and then scores a header against Bate Borisov and like I can't wait to see the AFTV interviews and someone called Mustafi a good defender. Because it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen.
DT was fairly calm today. He actually said, I thought he'd bum lick Ozil, but he didn't. He said he did okay, but I don't think he's done enough to warrant a starting place against Southampton.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. Like I legit waited for him to say, Ozil orchestrated the play brilliantly today. Look at him. He's the best player. He's a god.
Hey everybody, Dan here. I haven't been on any other podcasts recently. I was meant to be on this podcast, but I came down with this illness and I just couldn't really sit there talking where my voice sounds like this because, yeah, I sound terrible. But my prediction for the Liverpool game versus United, obviously I'm a United fan, so I'd love United to win, but even a draw I'd take. And I think I predict it to be 1-1. I think it could be quite a boring game, but I think there'll be a goal for each team, and I think United will nick it or Liverpool will nick it, but I still think it'll be 1-1. And I'm going to go with Rashford and Mane to be the goal scorers. I'll hopefully be on the next podcast, but until then, see ya.
The RantBoys Podcast.
Van Persie arriving. Oh, what a goal! What a goal by Robin Van Persie!
Fantastically.
Time to go!
It's
time to go!
Don't interrupt me.
I will interrupt.
Don't interrupt me.
I will interrupt because
You've got a small
it's
voice.
time to go!
Don't interrupt. Look at you, can't even speak.
Time to go!
You can't even speak. So don't interrupt
And
me.
even when I can't speak, I speak more sense than you fucking ever do.
What are you swearing for? What are you swearing for?
It's time to go!
What are you swearing for?
Get it
What are you
out
swearing
of
for?
your fucking head!
I think even Pochettino's more passionate about Arsenal than Gronkia.
Like he's not owning, he's just sitting on his ass and waiting for the money to drip. Hi and welcome to another episode of the RantBoys Podcast.
About my who? About my what?
About my gangbang gang. And the reason why I have such glee in my voice is because my co-host Tony tonight.
So what should I call you? Should I call you Bullet, Tooth? You can call me Susan if it makes you happy. Tony.
Will not be moaning because Arsenal, of course, went through against Bate Borisov. Oh, yeah.
Yay.
And with us to preview the weekend's Manchester United Liverpool game at the Old Trafford, we have our podcast regular, Sanj.
Liverpool! Liverpool! Come on! Shaka!
Yep.
Typical Liverpool fan.
Tony, kick us off.
We start off with the Champions League, the Atletico Madrid 2, Juventus 0. And this was not the result I wanted because for obvious reasons that people in the UFF forum know. But Atletico have won 2-0 against Juve. What are your thoughts on that, Sanj?
I thought it was well deserved. To be fair, they were well up for it. The fans were brilliant. The players were really good. You know, VAR cancelled. VAR tried to stop Atletico winning, but
Yeah.
it just wasn't meant to be. Obviously, the Costa penalty then got changed back to a free kick. The
Yeah.
Morata header, which then got given for a foul. But then they've scored 2 fairly perfect goals. The 2, is it Uruguayans?
Yeah, Godin. I think Godin scored that one that was he the one that scored the deflected off Ronaldo?
Yeah, of all people.
Yeah.
Godin and Jimenez.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just
So
want to
that's-
ask you guys
What's
on
your
that point.
yeah.
Did you guys think that push on Chiellini was a foul? Because obviously it's subjective when it comes to the referee, but I kind of felt like it was a legitimate foul because you see the 2 hands come through the back and you see sort of Morata kind of clip him a bit, and
Yeah.
of course Chiellini kind of does it over dramatically with the fall, but
Yeah.
I felt it was a foul.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, if you look at the Morata's reaction after he scored the goal, he was just like, all right, I'm waiting for the ref to blow his whistle for a foul.
Yeah.
And he couldn't believe that it didn't blow. So then he was like, oh, okay. Then VAR corrected it. But Chiellini definitely did make the most of it. He took a massive dive.
See, that's the thing. Like, he did make the most of it. No one can deny that. But when you're putting your hands on a defender in the box, at the end of the day, you put your hands on him. So all it takes is for you to put your hands on them, and they go down. So to take that risk, you got to pay the consequences, and he did.
But to me, it was like proper shithousery from Chiellini. It was like very, very shithouse. You know, old school defender. I'm gonna dive. You know, I feel the 2 hands on my back. Okay, I'm gonna take a dive here. It's gotta be a foul. But what the fuck is...
Look on the bright side. At least Chiellini didn't get bitten this time.
Tony, are you blowing smoke in the microphone?
Negative. I was drinking a drink.
The mic's picking it up again.
Oh, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is becoming quite a running thing. But okay. Anyway, what I was about to say is, like, ain't it funny that the only types of goals Alvaro Morata seems to score is disallowed ones?
Yeah, okay.
Like, legit.
That's what I'm going to say. Chiellini needs to look on the bright side. At least he didn't get bitten this time.
Yeah, I hear you, man, but I'm just finding it funny how Morata can't seem to score a legal goal, because he scored plenty. Like, if all of his disallowed goals at Chelsea had counted, he would have been like one of the top scorers in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, he scored so many offside goals, and every single time it seems to be something when he scores. He just can't, like, score a legal goal.
And it was his moment as well, because he was so in the celebrations. The stadium was bouncing. They were like, the commentator even said, Morata's one of them now. He's scored a goal for them. He's one of them now, and then he goes and gets cancelled out.
But you guys know that he was a youth player for Atleti.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, it's kind of like a homecoming for him, but obviously it's not a very warm homecoming because he was a Real Madrid player for about 5 years. So,
that'd be the equivalent of Harry Kane coming to us.
yeah, true. Imagine that, though. Like, that would be weird. So this is a bit of a digression on Atletico and Juventus, and we'll come back to that. But if Kane were to ever really sign for Arsenal, or for instance, listen, Gareth Bale will be available this summer.
Yeah.
If Arsenal sign Gareth Bale, and we do need a winger, would it be a Sol Campbell situation to you, or something different?
Oh, it's tough because it depends on the impact of the club. Like, Sol Campbell came to us, and he was a very, very important and successful player for us. So Sol Campbell redeemed himself. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It would take. He was one of the Invincibles, so he most definitely redeemed himself. For
Yeah.
Bale or Kane or any Tottenham player to come to us, they would need to do something major or be a part of something major for us to forget their Tottenham days.
True. I wanted to ask you, Sanj, how how would you react if, say, Liverpool in 2-3 years time signed Tom Davies? Would you be like up for it, or would you be pissed that you guys signed Tom Davies regardless of the fact that he might be a good player for you?
If he's a good player and he's worth the value that whatever we pay him for, I'd be happy really, because we're taking a good player off Everton. And if like you said, in 2 to 3 years, if we Liverpool are to be winning trophies, and then if he is to help contribute to more trophies, then it's just like what you had with Sol Campbell and Tottenham. You can banter them, like you can say, we stole your player and we made him win things. That's why he left your club. Obviously, I know Everton, the rivalry doesn't seem as big as Arsenal or Tottenham, because you two hate each other, where Liverpool and
That's an understatement. That's an understatement that we hate Tottenham.
Okay, sorry, yeah. All right, you despise Tottenham, scum of the earth, want them gone, never to exist again. Whereas Liverpool and Everton are like we were nicknamed the friendly derby because, you know, we were like one of the first derbies where there would be no stewards. Families would sit together and support separate teams together in the stands.
Yeah.
Obviously, today it's not like that, but it's still that friendly element, because if you live in Liverpool, you either support Everton or you support Liverpool, and it's split half in your family. But stealing one of their best players and then helping him win trophies would be very sweet. I wouldn't hate that he used to play for Everton, really, as long as he doesn't flop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good point. By the way, back to the Atletico and Juventus game, I just remember hearing a couple of days ago on the ESPN FC show, because I listened to their podcast, because the guys on that show, I really like the pundits because they have fun with it. You know, they're not stuck up. And I heard Alejandro Moreno, who's a pundit on there. He said the only way that Atletico are going to win this tie is by 2 like scrappy set piece goals from Jimenez and Godin. And obviously he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. But what surprised me from the game is not just like the low block thing, the being tight in a 4-4-2, congesting the midfield and allowing possession to the other team didn't surprise me. What surprised me was Atletico playing on a counter and actually doing like short passing moves and trying to combine in a, let's say, less direct way at times, and actually trying to keep possession sometimes and trying to attack, because they weren't as negative in the second half, especially, as I expected them to be.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Sanj, whether you thought that maybe they would have been more negative, especially in the second half, given it was like 0-0, because Simeone did bring on 3 very attacking substitutes.
You can say yes and no, but I assume maybe they thought in the first half Juventus were there for the taking. You know, they trusted themselves in defence, and they say, if we just add that bit more in attack, we can get a few goals and give us a real big advantage going away to Turin in 2 weeks' time. Ronaldo is obviously their arch nemesis.
Yeah.
Juventus are being labelled the favourites for the competition.
Yeah.
So they're probably thinking, we go 2-0 up to Turin, and obviously Atletico being such a really good defensive team, they're probably favourites to go through now. And what a big scalp to take. They've stopped Ronaldo winning it. They've stopped the favourites Juventus from winning it. And the confidence and the mentality that would give them to go and possibly win their first Champions League would be massive.
I still think Juve will win the tie personally.
Yeah, but you have to consider a really good point that San just made. Atletico do relish being the underdogs. They
Yeah.
really love being underdogs. And
Yeah.
to me, there was no more telling moment than Cholo Simeone dropping his cojones on the floor in front of a camera after that
Straight from Troy
goal.
Deeney.
Yeah.
He's been watching.
shout out to Troy Deeney, man. Definitely.
Wow.
I mean, it's. Do you guys think he's gonna get suspended?
Who's Simeone?
Yeah.
Knowing UEFA are very sensitive, knowing UEFA, he probably will get suspended.
I
He might, yeah.
I'm thinking so too, because it's as nasty as that gesture was, and I kind of love it because one thing I have to say, I really do hate how Atletico play. I hate them with all my football loving self. Hates that type of play. I always hated Italy, the way they play in the World Cups, the pragmatic football, the playing the low block, bunkering up, not trying to attack, not really doing anything with the ball, and then waiting for a set piece or one moment of magic, and basically playing like Greece in the 2004 Euros. Like sitting at your goalkeeper's lap, not doing fuck all, and trying to win that way. I hate that. It's one of the reasons why I'm an Arsenal fan. Because I have an appreciation for attacking football, for exciting, fast-flowing, fast-paced football.
Well, that moves us on nicely. Speaking of attacking football, Sanj, Liverpool 0, Bayern Munich 0. What are your thoughts as a Liverpool fan on that performance?
I guess no one saw that coming. I mean, even the Bayern manager turned around and he goes, "There'll be goals in this game. If anything, it won't be 0-0." That's what he said. And it was.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, I thought defensively we were fairly good. I didn't think Bayern had much to offer going forward. They only created their chances through our mistakes, through our sloppy passes from Alisson and Naby Keita a few times.
Yeah. Do you think you can go through with this result in the first leg? Do you think you can go to Allianz and win that?
It's 50-50 really. I'm not massively confident.
Yeah.
Like I said, like Atletico, they took Juventus. They took the advantage. They said, "We're going to go to Turin with 2-goal lead. We're going to." They scored their chances. Liverpool didn't. We had plenty of chances and we didn't take them. And some Liverpool fans are very confident. They were happy when they phoned into Fan Park Live saying, "Oh, really happy. No away goals conceded. I'm confident we'll score."
That is one thing you can take, that you didn't concede any away goals. So I think 0-0 is much better for you than not say 1-1.
Yeah, 100%, because we're still drawing. If it was 1-1, we're practically losing the tie.
Yeah.
My only problem is, like I said, I feel like that performance by Bayern is sort of like a false sense of hope. I think they played for the 0-0.
Yeah,
I feel like
possibly
a lot of false hope to Liverpool fans, thinking, "Wow, if they play like that at the Allianz, we're going to easily beat them." But at the Allianz, they're going to be all guns blazing. They're going to try blitz us in the first half.
Sure.
They're at home. Because if you watch the game, the commentators said Alaba and Kimmich did not get past the halfway line because they were told not to leave themselves exposed. At the Allianz, they're going to go up. They're going to try push Salah and Mane back and leave Firmino isolated up top by himself.
Definitely.
Keep us pressed in.
Well,
it just depends how Liverpool handles it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the result, Alba?
Well, like I was going on the point of Atletico and Juventus, I was surprised that Simeone decided to attack, and that's why I thought his cojones gesture was so telling when he pointed, these are cojones, and he actually showed cojones by taking out basically two defensive midfielders in Koke and Partey and putting on Correa and Lemar, and
Yeah.
switching Costa out for Morata, and he actually showed intent to attack, and they did attack somewhat in the second half. I was
Yeah.
surprised by Kovac. I wasn't surprised that he was sensible, because he is a guy who will play with and coach with what he has. So I was expecting that he was going to be somewhat pragmatic, but I didn't expect him to employ a deep line like he did and not have the fullbacks push up and sort of try and take the sting out the game and dampen the crowd, because that's exactly what they did. They were sort of passing the ball around for the sake of passing it around to not give Liverpool chances on the break and not allow the front three of Liverpool to get into space. And I was fairly surprised by that, because Bayern don't play like that. They haven't played like that this entire season. They've been a team that likes to control possession, but likes to do kind of the Guardiola thing where they have 65-70% possession. They pin you in your final third, and they're sort of passing it around till they find gaps. And they really didn't do that against Liverpool, because they didn't push the fullbacks up. They didn't push the back four up. And I think that was very sensible by Kovac, because he understands that his center backs are fairly slow, and if they give up space, it's going to be all hell breaking loose the other way, because Liverpool are just going to run rampant on them. And Sanj makes a good point on the fact that Bayern might open up more at the Allianz, but I still wouldn't expect Kovac to go all the way, to the way they sort of play in the Bundesliga, where they try to dominate possession. I think Bayern are going to be cautious, especially in the first half, and they're obviously going to try and find the goal, but I don't think it's going to be from a standpoint of, okay, let's go and attack them fully. I think it's still going to be, listen, let's keep especially the flanks tight. Let's not lose track of Mane and Salah, because if they counter us, if they score an away goal, we're basically fucked. It's not.
Yeah.
They have to then score two, and with obviously Van Dijk back and possibly Lovren back for that game, it's going to be very hard for Bayern to score two goals, because I think the only team this season that scored a couple of pretty much, I think Wolves scored 2 goals against Liverpool, but that was sort of Liverpool's B/C team. The only team that scored 2 goals on Liverpool this entire season, I think, was Manchester City on Liverpool's A team.
And Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and Crystal Palace. True.
So do you think, as Bayern, of course, were and still are the favourites in this tie, do you think Bayern are good enough to win the Champions League?
I have no idea. I have no idea, because they are so up and down with especially with the whole thing about the veterans, because Kovac's job is basically just trying to not piss off the old guys while sort of, not necessarily pushing them out the door, but sort of courteously opening the door and giving them a kick up the ass to go. It's kind of what Arsenal did with Arsene Wenger. It's that type of situation with Robin, Ribéry, Müller, not Lewandowski per se, but I think Robin, Ribéry, Müller, even Javi Martinez, I would say, is in that category where they are looking at him and sort of saying, well, you've been great for us, but
it's time to say bye.
Yeah. We think it's time to say bye. You might think you have more left in the tank. Well, we bought Tolisso and Thiago and all of those guys and Goretzka for a purpose. We don't really see you starting here long term, so if you mind fucking off, please. It's like it's very much,
Have to say goodbye.
yeah.
So that brings us on to another German side. Schalke 2, Manchester City 3. I felt Schalke were unlucky not to get anything out of this game. What's your thoughts on this, Alba?
I'm not that sure that I agree. I think Schalke, as bad as they've been all of this season, this was one of their best performances this year, and they are ideally suited to play against a team like Manchester City. They like to have a lot of possession. Schalke are a counter-attacking team that has some pace going forward, and they like to exploit space. But I'm not sure that they necessarily deserved something out of the game. They got 2 penalties that were a bit lucky and honestly a bit stupid by Man City players. But what this game showed to me is that Manchester City have a lot more character and a lot more resilience than last year. I think what happened to them at Liverpool last season in the Champions League and in the league the second time around, I think that taught them a very valuable lesson, because at that time parts of the team were still kind of young and unexperienced.
Yeah.
And I think Pep was still looking for some steel out of the characters in the team, and he was looking for some players, especially young guys like Sterling and Sane, to be a bit more resilient and show up more in the big games. And I think in this game in particular, Sterling and Sane absolutely showed what they can do. And to me, I would like to shift it to Sanj and ask you if with how this City team was resilient in being a man down, in being down on the scoreboard, and coming back and responding in the way they did, in terms of the title race, are you spooked by the fact that they now appear to be more resilient than ever?
Yeah, in some cases, yeah, but I feel I was already spooked when they smashed Chelsea 6-0. They made a statement to say, you bottled your lead and now we're here to take it off you. In the Champions League, yeah, they did it again, continuing their form, continuing their mental strength. And it is scary, yeah, it's really scary. And they've learned from last year in the Champions League, but they're still yet to face a big team with Pep, because they lost to Monaco in his first season. They lost to Liverpool last season. It'd be interesting to see how Pep comes up when he gets a Barcelona, a Juve, a Real Madrid, a Bayern Munich.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I still don't think City are quite there to win the Champions League. I still don't think they're at, say, Barcelona, Juventus, Real Madrid's level yet.
Well, Pep said that himself. He said, I don't think this team, despite winning 3-2, he still felt like the team was still a bit inexperienced, still not ready to go the full way.
The question is, if Schalke were to knock out City and Liverpool were to win the league, do you think Pep's gone to the end of the season?
No.
I don't think City brought him in to build a dynasty. Do something.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to do something as similar to Ferguson, but something close. Get close to that sort of thing. Like win back-to-back titles, win City their first Champions League trophy, possibly win a Champions League trophy and a Premier League trophy double in a season. Just get a bit of history into this club and a bit of dominance. And missing out on one season won't be too bad. Like it will be fairly embarrassing for them for the amount of money they spent and stuff like that. But they'll go again next year. They'll go twice as hard next year.
Yep. But I do have to say on that point, I don't see them dropping out to Schalke. Maybe in the next round they get a tough draw and someone knocks them out. But like I said, I'm really impressed by how much more resilient they seem this season, because last season, if the system didn't work, then they would just kind of fold. If Guardiola's system wasn't working in a game, they would kind of tap out, and that would be it, and they would, they would lose. And obviously, last night it wasn't working as smoothly as they would like, and things weren't breaking for them. And obviously, Otamendi got sent off, and the 2 penalties, and all of that stuff. And still, in basically the final minute of the game, you have Ederson with that brilliant ball over the top, playing it in for Sterling, and Sterling with a deadly finish. And I mean, what I just want to talk about Leroy Sané for a second. Like, to me, like I said it last night in the chat, like, he's the best pace merchant in terms of technique I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen a guy with that sort of pace have the technique to do basically a David Beckham free kick.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Like,
he's literally like a left winger version of Mbappe.
Yeah, it's like a sick combination of technique and speed. Like, and I've never seen it in a player to that extent. Like, someone who's of that physical profile, who obviously relies on pace as the main part of his game, and sort of be able to do, like, David Beckham type free kicks into the top corner. It's like, it's sick.
I've got a question for both of you. Yeah, the two, should we say, oil-backed new projects in Man City and PSG. In their projects, who do you think's more advanced and more closer to winning the Champions League? Paris Saint-Germain or Man City? Really?
Man City, because I think they've got a more balanced squad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think their sort of overall complexion of the squad is way more balanced than that of PSG. I think PSG are very top heavy in terms of they have that front three. They have pretty solidly stocked attacking midfield as well, and I think Verratti is very good. But I don't think, other than that, like, they don't have the depth of Man City. They don't have the versatility in defense and in midfield that Man City have. Man City can fill various different tactical needs whenever they need them, and PSG are basically, it's Tuchel, making pasta with like water and bread. It's like you
so
got.
Do you think PSG will invest big in the summer?
Probably, but I wanna hear Sanja's view on this. Like, do you think that PSG are further ahead or Man City?
Probably not. No, probably Man City, because, like you said, the squad depth is much bigger at City, and that's because they're in a tougher league. They need their squad depth to be massive. Whereas PSG, their first 11's amazing for the Champions League, but then everything on the bench is it's good enough for the French league. It's good enough to rotate in the French league, and
even our team's good enough for the French league.
Exactly. So, like, their bench and their second team is good enough for the French league.
Yeah.
But if you get a key injury to, like, a Thiago Silva, a Verratti, or Marquinhos, or any of the front three, then when it comes to the Champions League, that's a massive miss.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to Man City, you think if Aguero gets injured, you've got Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah.
If Sterling gets injured, you've got Mahrez. If David Silva gets injured, you've got Bernardo Silva. And the list goes on. The only two spots that they don't have perfect cover is probably left back and the CDM role.
Yeah, Fernandinho. But, when you look at PSG, if, Cavani gets injured, it's Choupo-Moting time! It's like, you guys have a Stoke reject in Liverpool. Hey, this works.
Yeah.
Why don't we get Choupo-Moting?
Yeah.
I mean,
Don't know how he got that move. Got
Because
relegated and now he's a Champions League player.
yeah, I mean because PSG are basically in very very they were in a messy situation with financial fair play this past summer, and they had to like get someone who's cheap and can do a job. So
Yeah.
Choupo-Moting,
So the last Champions League tie of this week, Lyon 0, Barcelona 0. What are your thoughts on that, Sanj?
Again, who would have predicted that? Same as Liverpool and Bayern, like 2-0 in a row. I mean, there was a guy who put £5 on both games being 0-0, and he won £1,000.
Wow.
And it's like it can't. And like a lot of questions being asked, mainly towards Suarez instead of Messi, because Suarez hasn't scored an away goal in 3 years in the Champions League.
Wow.
And he's only got 1 goal in 16 Champions League appearances. So like you said, with Bayern saying goodbye to Robin and Ribery and the old guys, Barca might be thinking this summer, Suarez, thank you for your service. Time for you to go now.
And then Liverpool might bring him back.
I mean, I'd take him. He could definitely do a job here. But yeah, the Barca for the first season, maybe or the second season in a row, I feel Barca are not the favourites. No one's got any trust in them. Usually, whenever say who do you think's winning the Champions League, Barca is always the first choice.
See, I predicted Barcelona Juve final.
You predicted a Barca Juve final, fair enough.
Yeah.
I felt a lot of teams this season, a lot of fans this season, they didn't put Barca in that bracket.
Wow.
Everyone said Juventus because of Ronaldo, and I think some people did say PSG. Some people said City.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced of City on the European stage.
That's fair enough. But yeah, mainly Juventus, City. I personally said I thought it'd be Atletico or Juve. It's one of those two, I feel.
Atletico like the Spanish Tottenham, though. They always bottle it.
I know, but Real Madrid are not the same. And if they beat Juventus in the round of 16, they've got no Ronaldo to stop them.
Yeah, and if Atletico win the Champions League, we're not going to hear the last of it from a certain someone.
Oh, man.
That's why you've got to get on his good side.
No, I just prefer if Atletico just get knocked out and embarrassed.
Anyway,
what are your thoughts on the match, Alba, on Lyon 0, Barcelona 0?
I was about to get to that. I'd say, I mean, I've been hearing this point a lot, and I agree with it. The more I see Barcelona, the more I agree with it, is that they're too Messi dependent. And if Messi doesn't do his thing, if he's not peak Messi, and obviously I think he's about to turn 32 this year, and it's like he's obviously slowing down, and he's someone who is like, I mean, he's slowing down by Messi standards. It's like it's not a guy who's just gonna drop off a cliff, and you're not gonna see same way in basketball with Michael Jordan. Like you're not gonna see this guy just stop being able to all of a sudden score and do all of these amazing things, but you kind of see the years taking their toll, and to me that's what's happening to Messi. Not to a great extent, but you see, because of his size and because of the nature of how much he gets kicked around the pitch and how dangerous he is, it does seem to look as if he is slowing down a bit, just a tad, just a little tiny bit, where he can't summon the signature Messi magic in every single game. But I think when they go back to the Camp Nou, and obviously Barcelona this season away from home haven't been very good anywhere, whether it's the Champions League, they've had the good performance against Tottenham away, but other than that, this whole season they've kind of been not good away from home. So I think when they go back to the Camp Nou and Messi is back where he's most comfortable, I think they're gonna fairly easily dispose of Lyon.
Yeah, I agree. I think Barcelona should have enough to get over the line.
But I wanted to point out one thing with Barcelona. I don't. I mean, I get that people praise Dembele, and Woogie is definitely someone who is a big fan of Dembele. But again, I mean, I know this guy has tremendous talent, but it's like when people start saying, "Oh, he's just as good as Mbappe," to me, it's kind of like, well, there's a difference there. He might be just as good a talent, but there's a
Yeah,
big difference in terms of consistency there, in my
Mbappe's
eyes.
proving it.
Yeah, but I mean, Dembele's proving it as well. But the Mbappe is just ridiculously consistent for his
Yeah,
age, and he shows up every single game basically. While
yeah,
Dembele will do amazing stuff that pretty much no other player can do, but he does it like every second or third game, and it's a bit frustrating with the amount of people who tell you he's just as good as Mbappe, and you're like, well, there's that slight bit that's called consistency that's kind of important. You know, it's not just about raw talent, but
yeah,
in terms of raw talent, yeah, he's good, but definitely Barcelona, if they are to make good on their investment in Dembele, he definitely needs to start stepping up when Messi has, I wouldn't say an off night, but a slower
but not up
night.
to Messi's usual night. Yeah,
Yeah, when he's not, because especially at Messi's age right now, you'd expect your 150 million pound young talent to step up when Messi doesn't quite have the night that he's used to having.
yeah. So that's the Champions League over, and now we move over to Europa League, which I'm happy about this week. Arsenal 3, Bate Borisov 0. I can't tell you how glad I am that I don't need to rant this week. What are your thoughts on this, Alba?
Well, I was slightly surprised by the way Arsenal won it. I wasn't surprised that Arsenal did win, but again, it's like an own goal and two corners, two set piece routines, 3-0
Yeah,
win. It it was
yeah,
very un-Arsenal like in terms of a victory, and I think it's something new that we're seeing definitely under Unai Emery, where our set pieces in general, both offensively and defensively. Obviously, last week against Bate Borisov, I think that was an individual error by Kolasinac, basically ducking and not heading the ball when he should have. But I think in general, our set pieces have improved a lot since Wenger left. But again, there is that whole thing about us Arsenal fans being sort of, you know, little spoiled babies, and immediately if we don't win playing like vintage Barcelona, and if we don't dispose of Bate Borisov by like 8 goals on aggregate, there's trouble in paradise. But to
yeah,
me, this obviously meant that, the team went out there and did their job. I think
yeah. And can
that,
I just say to our viewers,
yeah.
this is strange territory for me this week because I've got nothing to rant about on team performance this week. I felt the team, I don't think there was any particularly bad player, and that includes Iwobi. I think Iwobi had a good game. That's a shock that I've said that, but it's the truth. I think Emery got everything spot on this week. And I'm just over the moon that we didn't get embarrassed and we actually threw. Otherwise, this podcast would be a completely different story if we did.
Yep. It would be a lot different in terms of tone. But I just like to ask Sanj, do you feel as if Arsenal are more solid in terms of just the way we approach games this season under Emery?
I thought before you got your major injuries to the likes of Hector Bellerin and Holding, you could see the philosophy was there. there was a blueprint. You could see it. You think it wasn't 100% perfect, but it was there. And you think, imagine what that will be like when we've got our players, we've been backed, and stuff like that. We've got rid of the deadwood and we've brought in players who can play this philosophy.
Yeah.
Then you got those injuries and you went back to the old Arsenal sort of type thing, So, but obviously you've got Socrates back now.
Yeah.
And Ozil might be coming in, at least be on the bench come Sunday against Southampton. So in terms of the Europa League, I feel you're fairly solid because in the Premier League, it's the same old with Arsenal. That sometimes Arsenal can get a bit mentally weak. They turn up for the big games, but then they turn off against the small teams, and it costs you. For example, Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, and things like that. I mean,
West Ham.
West Ham, you almost dropped points against Huddersfield at home, but then Torreira scored the overhead kick.
Yeah.
But then in the Europa League, I feel it's a big competition. It's a chance to win. So, and the fans will be up for it, and the players will be sort of up for it. Because if anything, I've noticed with Arsenal, they seem, even if they're playing poorly and their squad's poor or they're the underdogs, they always get up for big matches. They always get up for a final, and they always play for the final, play for themselves, and they eventually win it. Obviously, last season it wasn't meant to be because Atletico were just that bit better. But I feel with Emery this season, Europa League winner, he might just give you that experience and guidance on how to get to that Europa League. And I feel, yes, Napoli are dangerous, but I don't think they're as dangerous as when Atletico dropped in last year.
I think even with our defence being so weak still, obviously it's a bit of a boost now that Socrates is back. But I still don't think we have the quality there to beat a team like Napoli. I think Napoli are on fire, and rightfully so, they're the favourites to win it as well.
Yep. I think we'll have to watch out for them, and as long as we can avoid them, I think it's going to be good. And obviously, I think if we match up with Napoli, say in the final, let's hope we can go that far. But if we match up with them there, I think what Sanj said is correct. It's definitely a 50-50 game because it is Arsenal, and we do tend to turn up. And even if this squad was flaky under Wenger and it was kind of spineless, when it came to winning finals, they pretty much delivered. Unless it was Manchester City in the final, we did do a good job. So
yeah. So as a neutral, Sanj, who do you think will win the Europa League?
Probably Napoli seem to be the strongest.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put it past Arsenal because it's just what.
Who do you think's got a better chance, Arsenal or Chelsea?
I think Arsenal do. I think.
Wow.
You've got the manager. Like I said, Sarri's never won anything, so he doesn't have that expertise or that experience. He might have the better players, he might have the better squad, but the way Chelsea is right now, it seems a bit broken there.
Yeah.
Something's not right there, It depends. If Sarri loses the final on Sunday embarrassingly and gets the sack, maybe, and then this interim manager that Chelsea get revitalises them, maybe they could become favourites. But as of right now, I think you're better.
Yeah.
Even though we know your owners and your squad depth is brilliant.
Yeah.
I feel like the chemistry and the unity is a bit better at Arsenal than it is at Chelsea at the minute.
Yeah. And it's funny you say about Sarri, because I did read an article earlier today that apparently Roma have been in contact with Sarri.
I find it interesting from this standpoint with him. Obviously, they did go through 3-0 against Malmo tonight, and I don't think it was ever pretty much in doubt. He did start Hudson-Odoi. Hudson-Odoi did score, but to me, it's just, listen, if they get destroyed at the weekend, which they might, because you know what's going to happen again. He's going to play Marcos Alonso. It's going to be Kovacic for Barkley again.
Yeah.
Jorginho back in the DM spot.
Yeah, it's Zappacosta on for Aspilicueta. Higuain's gonna start again. Yeah, it's you know exactly what he's gonna do, and if he does get the sack, do you guys think that Chelsea would do the Solskjaer with their managerial spot and give it to Zola till the end of the season?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I think it's probably too late to look for a new manager. And I don't really know who'd be available, really. Well, unless, I doubt it, I 100% doubt it, but unless they seriously need Jose back. I doubt it.
No way.
But that would be absolutely crazy. Like someone said to me, because could you imagine if Jose comes back to Chelsea and then he then beats United to top?
I don't see Mourinho going back a third time.
Neither do I, but that would be a really funny concept if Mourinho was to go to Chelsea and deny Man United that fourth spot.
That would.
I would like to say, like, it'd be funny if Jose came back, but just for that point, I'd like to credit the Man United fans on Monday for singing "Bring Jose Back"
Yeah.
at the bridge. It was so genius.
It's how quickly football can turn. It's like when Arsenal fans went up to Old Trafford and they say, "Jose Mourinho, we want you to stay," as revenge for when people sang for Wenger to stay. As football fans, they don't forget things like that. So they'll be praying, they'll be crossing their fingers saying, "Can't wait till we go to that ground because we're going to sing about their manager or their team or how they mocked us earlier in the season, and now we're back and we're going to mock them."
Yeah. The one thing is, though, at least all of us can all agree, whichever club you support, that Tottenham are the biggest bottlers in the country.
Free shot at Tottenham this week from Tony.
I'm always free to shoot at them because they can't even shoot into a trophy.
Oh man!
Small club in a big club world.
Anyway, on the Zola point, just one quick question: do you guys think that if Chelsea sacks Sarri, that Zola might be able to lift Chelsea the same way Solskjaer lifts Man United?
I think he'll bring stability. I think they'll stop dropping points in silly games, but I don't think I think the way United are, I don't think Chelsea, with or without Sarri, are good enough to get into that top four. I think that top four is pretty much United if they carry on their form.
Yep. Sanj, do you think that...
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I feel with Mourinho and United, they were literally bottom of the barrel. It was literally the Chelsea of 14-15, where they were closer to relegation than they were to top four.
Yeah.
And like anything Solskjaer did was going to improve Man United. Like Sarri, yeah, he's got a lot of criticism, but he's not like he's completely out of the top four race. So if he is to get sacked and Zola is to get it, the pressure's on Zola straight away because he's like, top four's in reach and that's your objective. Where Solskjaer came in, it was just like, play some good football, get the fans back on our side. There's no pressure on you this season. And all of a sudden, he's got them back into top four. He's got them strong possible candidates for the FA Cup.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, time to move on to our signature segment. It's the return of the rant battle rant.
He's bloody missed it! What a prat! What a prat! Pink boots! It's the pink boots! You look like a tin of salmon! You bloody idiots!
Battle.
He made him go in there, listen, and he made him flip cheeseburgers.
Listen,
he made him
there
go
we
on,
go.
He made him do something.
Hold on, Teddy. Hold on, Teddy.
But his character allowed him still to walk the guy down.
Wait a minute, Teddy.
Why? Because they know they don't have a leg to stand on, that's why!
This is beautiful. This is just beautiful.
Parading his butt with that fucking NFC Championship trophy.
I am sick and tired.
First time on the rap battle for Sanj this week, but as tradition dictates, we will kick off with Tony. Tony, start us off.
My rant this week is an internal problem at our club, and that is a portion of our fan base. We all know clearly that there's a divide in our fan base. There's the Emery supporters, there's the Ozil supporters, and then there's the ones in the middle that just want the best for Arsenal either way. Now, for the ones in the middle, I'm not going to include you in this rant. This is directed to both the Emery and the Ozil supporters. Now, I'm sick of this debate. I'm sick of the divide, because at the end of the day, as Arsenal fans, we should all want what's best for Arsenal. And I don't agree with him often, but Lee Gunner made a great point on Twitter earlier by saying the whole agenda, just because you have a different opinion, doesn't necessarily mean you have an agenda. I'm sick of the whole agendas when you genuinely do have an agenda. I'm sick of it. Whether you're Emery out, whether you're Wenger out, Sarri out, Gronky out's acceptable. I'll give that an exception. But any other out, I'm sick to death of it, because there's people on both sides of the argument looking down on the other side. And to be honest, I'm sick and tired of it. So if you've got an agenda, get out of the club and shove the agenda right up your Arsenal, because I'm sick to death of this crap. We all want what's best for Arsenal. Stick by the team. You can criticise the team. I'm the first to do it if we play crap. But stop with the agenda. Otherwise, I don't want you to be a part of this club. Get out or stay with.
True. I agree with that. And for my rant this week, I'd like to expand on a similar point, which to me is I'm really, really upset and really, really disgusted by the people who think they are fans of a club and then take the stance for a player in front of a club. Understand one thing. Either you're a fan of a player and then you support that player throughout his career and don't call yourself a fan of a club, or you support the fucking institution, the badge, the history, the culture of the club, the identity of the club, all the way, and you think about what's best for the club, and you support the club's decision, whatever that decision may be. So you might disagree with some things that your club does. You might disagree with treatment of certain players. You might think that, okay, I'd like this player to play, I like that player to play. In the end, the decision is not in your hands. And this is what social media did to people. It empowered them to think their opinion matters because they have someone out there in the void agreeing with them. And that's not true. You do not have the power to pick a team. There are people out there whose job that is, and that person's job at Arsenal is Unai Emery. And Unai Emery decides who plays and who doesn't. And you can either shut up and support whoever's on that pitch, even if you don't like them. For instance, I don't think Mesut Ozil brings anything to the team right now, but I'm certainly not going to go out there and say, Mesut Ozil, get the hell out of my club. You're an idiot for, I don't know, not passing the ball well to Aubameyang. I'm going to say, okay, I don't want to see this guy, but again, if Emery thinks he needs to play, I want Mesut Ozil to make an impact. I don't want to, to play with 10 men just to have my point proven. And that's my gripe with these people. They would rather have the club fail just to have their point proven that someone's not a good enough manager or someone's not a good enough player to play for the club than to have the club succeed. And that, to me, needs to change. The modern stance of the fan, the modern arrogance of the fan thinking their opinion comes before the club, it's not true. If you're a fan of the club, you support the club, you support the players, you support the manager. You might not agree, you might want the manager to change, you might want the players to change. But I never went online last year and said that Arsene Wenger is an idiot or he's a nonce or he's some other word that I can't even express here. I always understood that the guy was a club legend, and listen, if the club want to give him a proper send-off, okay, that's what I'm going to support. I'm not going to support people being absolutely hung to dry for just for my opinion to be proven correct. And I've had enough of people who the only purpose they want is for their opinions on Twitter to be proven right. And that is my rant for this week. And now, Sanj, it's your time.
Okay, I've had a lot of time to think about this. But my one is going to be on the hatred towards Liverpool winning this title. And they'd rather what City. I don't really understand it. Because if you remember last year, City made that if you're the champions of England, clap your hands. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And that didn't go down too well. A lot of people called them cringy and like pathetic. And he goes, "What? These are our champions of England. Like, this is embarrassing. They're embarrassing us, right?"
Yeah.
Like, you'd rather this team to be the champions over Liverpool. I understand United fans and Everton fans don't want Liverpool. That's fair enough. We've been rivals for over a century. That's fair enough. I understand that. But when it comes to Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, Spurs fans, I can understand City because they're going against us for this title. Like I said, they made that happy and you know it sort of type thing. The Manchester City rip-off song of the Allez, Allez, Allez song talks about how that Sean Cox got beat up by Roma fans. They put that in their song as a joke.
Disgusting.
And on top of that, have you seen the Leroy Sharks chant?
No.
With the baby shark thing.
Oh, I heard about it, but I haven't heard it.
Fine, that's fine. Don't bleach yourself. Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, you want these guys to represent England. You want these guys to be the champions of England. Obviously, I know Liverpool fans will be unbearable, will be cocky, will be dickheads. I understand that. But
who wouldn't?
I know who wouldn't, but at least we wouldn't embarrass us. Like, we're not cringy champions.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be unbearable ones, like cocky dickhead ones. That's fair enough. But singing Leroy Shark and if you're happy and you know it when we win the title seems a bit embarrassing, really. Like, if you look at the greatest champions of all times, the Invincibles, United's treble winning team, they were brilliant. They were gods almost.
Yeah.
It's like when Man City won the title, it's almost as if like they did it for like nursery. like they should be on CBBS. And I'm like, I know Liverpool are hated in England, but I've heard a lot of fans outside of England saying we love Liverpool. We would love Liverpool to win it because we know your history. We know your great fan base. They just hear City and they think, oh, they've got a lot of money. We obviously know how embarrassing they are. That's all my rant is. I was thinking, that's all my rant's about. It's just like, are you sure you really don't want Liverpool to win this league? I understand Man United and Everton. We're rivals for over a century. I accept that.
Yeah.
You're fair enough. City, you're our rivals for the title. Okay, I can understand if you don't want us to win it. But then when it comes to other clubs like Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, and even the smaller clubs, I was like, at least we're a proper club with proper history.
Oh, it's good you make that point. As an Arsenal fan, I just want to make it clear. I'm sure Aubrey would agree with me on this, as we're fighting the same cause here.
Yeah.
For the integrity of the game, for the integrity of the sport, I speak on behalf of a lot of people, I'm assuming, that I would rather Liverpool win the league over City, because Liverpool are a
Absolutely.
genuine big club who care about the community, who care about their values, unlike Man City.
Yep, and I'd say something on that point for not just the history of the game, but it's simply about and it's not even tradition. It's about the culture of the sport and how meaningful Liverpool are and how much in the last 25 years, 30 years, people have forgotten that. I am definitely in your corner, Sanj, that I want you to win this league. I deeply, deeply want you to win this league, not just because of my love of Jurgen Klopp and all that he represents and all that I think he is as a football manager and a person that I thoroughly enjoy watching and watching his teams, and I think he is what football should be. That smile, that enthusiasm, and that fight and passion on the sideline, and I think he symbolizes what Liverpool are as a cultural symbol of your community. And that's why I want Liverpool to win this league, and I think you deserve it, and I think it's proper, and I think it matters a lot in terms of lore of the Premier League to have one of the greatest clubs on the planet finally win this basically same competition, but it just has a different name. The competition that you've won over 20 times, and it's finally time for you guys to lift it the way it's branded now. And I think you deserve it, and I think this team deserves it, and I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. And on that note, guys, please rate our rants, whether you agree or disagree with them. Tweet us at rant_boys on Twitter. Follow us, tweet us. Please subscribe, share, and follow the podcast. And definitely tell us in the comments or with your tweets whether you agree or disagree with the points that we made. And now it's time to move to Tony's favorite segment, the transfer segment. Tony, kick us off.
I've been looking forward to this. Well, as I promised everyone at the end of the last podcast, I've got a big transfer rumour, and a close source of mine has confirmed this to have some validation. And that is, as you all know, Manchester City looking for someone long-term to replace Fernandinho. They reportedly, for a cost of £130 million, want Saul from Atletico Madrid. What are your thoughts on that?
That would probably be a massive... That'd be a scary signing, really. I mean, to replace Fernandinho with him, it's just scary, really. Like, they just don't stop when you think, surely City can't get any better. Surely they can't replace one of their best CDMs or one of their best players with an even better one.
Yeah.
They just do. And it's getting scary, and it's not going to stop. And this is why I reiterate, it's now or never for Liverpool sort of type thing, because we had our chance. Like, City were weakened. They had De Bruyne out for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, there was a bit where they felt the pressure and they lost to Newcastle, and we had the chance, and we seemed... It's not fully over yet.
Yeah.
We did bottle it a little bit, and it's still in our hands because we've got a game in hand on Sunday.
Yeah. But someone like Saul could really cement the City team. He's a top talent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could be the signing that secures them the title next year for a third season in a row.
Exactly.
Not win it this year.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this, Uber?
What'd you say the price was?
130 million.
I mean, listen, I love Saul as a player. He's one of my favorite players, quite honestly, all around, because a lot of people don't understand what this guy does on the pitch, and it's really, really important because he's a phenomenal athlete. He's got terrific technique. He is a midfielder that can play a pass, but he also has tremendous physical ability, amazing work rate. He is basically a young Fernandinho that plays for Spain, and he's an absolutely brilliant player. I've seen Simeone use him. I've seen Simeone use him as a fullback on both sides. He's been used as a winger. He's been used in central midfield. He can play in defensive midfield. He's done it for Spain. I mean, this guy is just a brilliant, brilliant footballer. And I think he's if City can get him, he's a much, much more improved and advanced version of players that have been mentioned to fill that defensive midfield spot for City, like Frankie de Jong and Adrian Rabiot. I think Rabiot and de Jong are both very good players, but I think Saul is just, in terms of someone having a football brain to the level of Fernandinho, I think Saul is the perfect man for the job because he's such a brilliant footballer. It's just this guy, and he's not someone, again, he's not someone who scores a ton of goals, and he's not someone that if you're a casual fan, you actually will appreciate for the most part or know what he does. And when you see 130 million attached to him, you're probably scoffing while listening to this and saying, hey, why is this guy worth 130 million? Well, in a football team, you need a guy like Saul Niguez. If you want to win stuff, if you want your team to have balance, if you want your team to be able to control a game, you need a guy like him. And to me, there's no better person to sort of play defensive midfield in this modern era, and especially for what Guardiola wants, which is sort of a dual role between a classic midfield destroyer and a guy who can pass the ball around and switch play. And Sal can do both things, and he's absolutely brilliant in his defensive positioning, obviously being schooled by Simeone for years. And he does have those dirty little, cheap Fernandinho type fouls in him where he's going to stop the fast break, and he's done it for Spain and for Luis Enrique a lot in the national team, and for Lopetegui before Enrique. And he's someone that will fit City perfectly, and I agree with Sanj. It could be quite worrying if City managed to get this guy. They would fill a massive gap in that team, and they'd be quite scary.
And the source I got this from, a source that I've been speaking to personally, who, again, just for the viewers so that they realise, I can't give you identity because I was told this in confidence. I could reveal the rumour or the story, I was told, but I just can't reveal where it comes from. But I did. There is a lot of concrete behind this. This ain't just a rumour. This seems serious. This deal seems like it is highly likely as we talk.
Yeah, it will make a lot of sense. Certainly more than any approach for De Jong, because
Declan Rice. Declan Rice has been linked as a replacement for Fernandinho as well.
Yeah, true. Because I think City needs someone who is at the top of their game right now, because Fernandinho is 34, I think, or he's about to turn 34. So he is getting up there, and they would need someone who ideally next season could become a starter, and they can sort of phase Fernandinho out the same way they did with Company. So this would be a perfect signing for them.
And can I just say, I didn't tell you at the end of the last podcast that I had a huge transfer story for you. I didn't let anyone down.
That's a big one. That's definitely a big one.
There's another one. Dries Mertens, and Napoli is set to go out into the Chinese Super League. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, they did the same thing with Marek Hamšík earlier I think a couple of weeks ago. So, I mean, Hamšík's obviously been a club legend. Mertens has been there for a while. I wouldn't say he's a club legend, but he definitely scored a lot of goals at the São Paulo, and he's someone who's a very, very talented player, and I was glad that he had a pretty good World Cup for Belgium, because I've always been a big fan of Dries Mertens. I've loved him ever since he played in the Eredivisie, and I've been a huge fan of him in the Dutch league, and he's been always a player I appreciated watching.
Yeah.
So to me, this is I'm happy for players when they go to the Chinese league at the stage of the career where Mertens is and where Hamšík is, where you can still play, but it's perfect for you to go to a market where you become an ambassador of football, and you promote the game in a market that's obviously
bit like what Beckham done with the MLS.
Yeah. You sort of promote the game in a market that's not as familiar with it. You still display tremendous skill. So obviously these people don't just see someone who's washed up, and you obviously make a lot of money.
Just so the viewers are clear, the story on Dries Mertens, separate source told me about this, that it's pretty much close to being confirmed now.
Yeah, I mean...
So it is. It would take something drastic for this not to happen now.
I just like to say I'm really, really happy for these guys that they get to cash in sort of one last time, because players like Mertens and Hamšík have I wouldn't say have played undervalue in Napoli, but they certainly could have made a lot more money if they moved, say, to the Premier League or one of the big clubs in Spain, and there were plenty of links and plenty of offers for both guys in the last 3 or 4 years, and neither of them left and sort of became, one's a legend. I think Mertens is an icon, Hamšík is a legend, but I think it's nice for them to sort of be able to recoup that money on the back end by just being very good ambassadors for the sport.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on this, Sanj?
Yeah, I agree with Uber, really. It's just nice that a very loyal player to Napoli, and a very decent one, and maybe he didn't get as much recognition as he deserved.
Yeah.
You know, on the World Cup stage, he was really good. You know, he got a lot of praise on the World Cup stage, but never got that big, massive money move that broke the transfer fee or the headlines on a deadline day or something like that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's nice for him to, like you said, with David Beckham going to MLS.
Yeah.
He's another ambassador for the Chinese league, and spread the popularity and get a well-earned paycheck for a loyal player who deserves it.
Yep.
Moving on to another story, and this will probably upset Liverpool fans a little bit, so sorry in advance, Sanj. Nabil Fekir, you remember him, who was inches away from signing for Liverpool last season? He's set to sign a new deal with Lyon. What's your thoughts on that, Sanj?
It's fairly disappointing in the fact we're probably not going to get him.
Yeah.
But it's not the worst case scenario, because I remember when apparently Chelsea were interested within, and so was City.
Yeah.
And what would have been really bad is if, after being so close to signing him, we pulled out, and then one of our rivals signed him, and then he turns out to be a brilliant player, and then it just hurts that bit more, thinking we were that close. Sort of like it sort of happened with Salah, but not as much. Chelsea beat us to the signing of Salah.
Yeah.
But then obviously he didn't kick off at Chelsea, so he got sold. We got loaned to Fiorentina and then got sold to Roma. But if Salah had the season that he had with us, with Chelsea when he first signed for them, that would have been painful. You're thinking they just pipped us, just that to a quality player that could have changed everything.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on this, Uber, about Nabil Fekir signing a new deal with Lyon?
I don't think it necessarily rules out his move, though. I that's what I would say on it. I think
For the next year or two, I think it does, but it doesn't. Obviously, if he signs a 4 or 5 year deal, it doesn't keep him there for 4 or 5 years. But if a team like Liverpool or City come along with a big bid, saying end of next season or the season after, could do.
I don't see it like that, because when I look at this guy, I think Nabil Fekir is someone who needs to move. I mean, not that he needs to move. I think he wants to move to a bigger club. So what I think in the way that Lyon operate and in the way that Jean-Michel Aulas leads that operation, and obviously the president of Lyon, Jean-Michel Aulas, likes to do business in a very, very Daniel Levy type of way, where he will absolutely get the maximum amount of cash for his talents as he can. I think this is a move to increase Fekir's value in this summer's market. I don't think this is a move to lock him up long term. I think this is more of a move, hey, let's pad some more years on your contract, so that way both us and your agent get a little bit more money this summer if someone comes in and wants to get you.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to another story, and my sources, this is a bit on the other side, my sources are telling me that this is highly unlikely. AC Milan are reportedly interested in signing Gareth Bale. What's your thoughts on that, Uber?
No way. I don't see with their... I mean, obviously they're going to make the Champions League this year, so they're going to get rid of much of their financial fair play troubles, but I don't think they're going to have the money to sign excuse me. Dinner just came back right there. I'm going to probably keep this in because it's funny, because it means the Tony isn't the only one suffering food consequences live on air. But anyway, Gareth Bale, I don't see this happening because Milan have a lot of players that haven't quite worked out to the extent they would want. In particular, Çalhanoğlu and Suso. I don't think either of those guys panned out quite as well as they would have liked. I think Samu Castillejo isn't bad, but I think he's still someone who's largely viewed as a youngster. But especially Çalhanoğlu, I don't think has been the most prolific. And obviously, some of those guys would have to go in order for Gareth Bale to come in, and I just don't see Milan paying the wages and the transfer fee necessary and splashing it all out on Gareth Bale when they have quite clear and obvious midfield issues, in my opinion, because they're very, very thin in midfield. If Kessié or Bakayoko get injured, I mean, next year you'd have to play one of Bonaventura or brittle, old Lucas Biglia, or I mean, this is a blast from the past, and I think you guys would laugh that this guy is still on Milan's books. But yes, Ricardo Montolivo is still a Milan player.
Wow.
The Montolivo
is a trooper.
Like, he's still hanging on. That guy held on for... What would you say, Sanj?
He's the Wenger of football.
Come on. Behave.
I wanted to say he's the Flamini of Milan.
Okay, that's more acceptable.
He's definitely the Flamini, the undying man. I mean, Montolivo. I mean, it's like their midfield is ridiculously thin. They need some more help there. And obviously, as good as Paqueta has been coming in, he's a young guy, and ideally you would have someone. I mean, Bonaventura is good, but again, he's someone who's also injury prone. So you need some fresh legs in there. So I would guess that Milan would look more in the way of getting another defensive midfielder in and possibly another fullback, because that has been a troubling area and they've really struggled with health in all areas. So I guess if I were Milan, I'd look more to squad depth, but I wouldn't rule out any bad deals for old players when it comes to our friend Gazidis.
What's your thought on this, Sandra, about Gareth Bale being linked to AC Milan?
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's highly unlikely, really. Like you said, I don't think they'll be able to afford his wages. And even if they were to have a clear out, and they'll say, Bale, we'll make you a superstar and we'll pay you loads of money.
Yeah.
I don't think Bale would want to come, because he's thinking, okay, you're making me the star man, but by buying me, you're not going to win any trophies because your midfield and your defence will be weak, and I'm going to be a star of a top 4 team qualifying for Champions League every year. It just seems a bit more like a tiny bit better version of Spurs.
Like I said, I think it looks like Arsenal the last 10 years. But of course, we all know who's the CEO of Milan now. So
Ivan Gazidis.
It's not surprising, really.
That bald bastard.
Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he signed Bale. It would just be perfect gas.
This just proves how reliable and accurate my personal sources are, because they told me it was unlikely and you are saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, but I kind of want Bale to go there now, just so Gaz gets to be Gaz again.
It would take something drastic for him to go there. Like, it's just all talk at the moment.
Please, let Gazidis be Gazidis.
I'd want it to happen so I can laugh in Gazidis' face, but that bald bastard.
His contract will run down, and then Spurs will sign him for 20 million.
Yeah, people say I've got short hair, shaven head. At least I'm near enough bald and I've got brains, which is more than what Gazidis has got. That prick.
Honestly,
him and Dick Law can go and do one.
Honestly, like, Gaz's head is so shiny. I've always thought he was like a disco ball in those press conferences. Has
anyone noticed how Ivan Gazidis looks a little bit like Daniel Levy?
Yeah. That was the next point I was gonna make. Like, you remember all of those old video footages and photos from the AGMs with Kroenke, Wenger, and Gazidis and Dick Law, when they would turn off the lights in the audience and the only lights would be like on stage, and Gaz's head would be like a disco ball, like in the middle of it. It was like,
that's what I'm saying. Have you ever seen, before the match, sometimes Arsenal have a light show? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
I know, Tony, because you've been there. You'd think that is the floodlights doing all that. No, it's just load of people shining their torches off Gazidis' head.
Blinded by it. It'd be like a mirror. It'd be like a mirror pointing to the sun. It'd be like blinding. The reflection would be hurting your eyes.
Hey, now we know what happened to Wenger. Now we know what happened to Wenger and his talent evaluation. It was just a reflective light. It was shining into his eyes, and he actually thought that players were completing passes and actually weren't. It was just Gazidis' head.
Gazidis has less brain cells than he does hair cells. And I mean that. So if Ivan Gazidis, if you're listening to this, I mean every single word of it.
Yeah.
I hope you ruin AC Milan, because you will.
You will. He absolutely will.
Yeah, you are a bastard. You can hear me as well if you're watching this.
And
moving.
And we said, yeah. And one last point, we did say that Tony was going to be gleeful today. Well, I just managed to piss him off with Gazidis.
That name, apart from Stan Kroenke, the two names that annoy me most is Dick Law and Ivan Gazidis. The only person I can't stand more is Stan Kroenke. Anyway, moving on, before I go too far with this.
Yeah.
Um,
Before we mention Roy Hodgson and Sanj starts ranting.
Anyway, man, so you've all heard about Joao Felix from Benfica.
Yeah.
Both Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain are interested, but it could cost them £105 million. What's your thoughts on this, Sanj?
That's he's still a teenager, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think so, yes. £105 million.
That's a lot of money for a teenager. Would that
Manchester United and PSG are both interested.
How much did Mbappe cost?
He cost more than that, so it'd still be Mbappe cost 130.
Okay, so Mbappe.
I think 130. Yeah.
I think Mbappe was. I think Mbappe was 1 second, Sanj. Sorry for interrupting. I think it was 40 million loan fee, and then the summer after, to balance out FFP, they paid like 130. So in total, it was like 170, something crazy like that.
Jesus.
What's your thoughts on this link, anyway, Sanj?
He must be some serious talented player if he's worth that much.
Yeah.
And the Benfica are in the Europa League, ain't they?
Yep, they knocked out Galatasaray.
So it's not like he's doing it on the Champions League stage, dragging them to the knockout stages and past the round of 16.
Yeah.
Like Ronaldo did for Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah.
So he must be some serious talent. I haven't seen enough of him to give a 100% rundown on him, but I mean, for the sake of the Premier League and Liverpool, I hope he don't go Man United.
Yeah, I just like to say on Joao Felix, this kid is absolute magic. He's dynamite. I mean, he's got everything in terms of pace, physical ability. He's got 2 feet. He's very reminiscent of Cristiano Ronaldo, and it's all comparisons are very, very valid. But one thing I would like, and it's obviously you can't expect this to just happen naturally, but he absolutely needs to bulk up because this kid is super, super slight.
Yeah.
He needs to get bigger in order to play in the Premier League, because if he comes to the Premier League next season, he's absolutely gonna get bullied. Do
you think he's worth 105 million?
Yeah, just based on potential, because he's got the potential to be worth 200 million in 3 years. But if he comes, I don't think people should expect him. And I know the way Man United fans are, and I know there's going to be some Man United fans who are going to expect Ronaldo immediately, and they're going to expect the Ronaldo from like the 2007-8 season.
Yeah.
But
and can I just add to our viewers, sorry to interrupt, from the same source, this is from the same source that told me about Saul going to Man City. The source also told me that Joao Felix is basically, if they don't get Rabiot, which it looks like they won't get Rabiot because he's going to Barcelona, they'll potentially go for Felix instead. So basically, Rabiot's Man United's first choice to sign. If they don't get Rabiot, and it looks like Rabiot's going to Barcelona, then they'll go for Felix instead. United will.
That's interesting, because I honestly, when I'm thinking about this, it's tough because we did kind of slag Matic into the dirt last pot, so they do need a defensive midfielder. But then again, Joao Felix is a great chance for them to sign a brilliant player.
Exactly. Moving on anyway, the last two transfer stories, both come out from PSG. No surprise there. One of them affects Arsenal, one of them affects Chelsea. I'll start with the Arsenal one. Matteo Guendouzi. PSG reportedly already want to sign Matteo Guendouzi, who could cost them £60 million. We've put a price tag on. What are your thoughts on this?
If we're getting 60 million for Guendo, listen, some people might be very displeased with this, but if they're really offering us 60 million full on, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
Like I'm legitimately taking that because there's no guarantees that as good as this kid has looked, there's no guarantees that he'll absolutely become one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. He's looked brilliant so far, but if we can get 60 million for him right now, again, long term, it might look like a bad deal for us, but if we can get 60 million and reinvest that 60 million into other parts of the field, I think it's something that definitely we should look into, because we do have a couple of players that can fill those positions, like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who could play in a similar role in defensive midfield. That is his natural role, sort of playing box-to-box midfield. We have Joe Willock, who can play in midfield. So I think we have some younger players. Obviously, Woogie mentioned Charlie Gilmore. So there are players coming through our ranks that we could plug in there and make use of. So if we can get 60 million for Guendouzi, I think it'd be brilliant for us, because that would mean we could potentially buy a top center back and definitely next year be sort of cemented defensively in terms of making a proper top four, not just push, but sort of win back our top four place and guarantee it.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on this, Sanj? As a neutral, do you think this would be a good or bad deal, selling Guendouzi for 60 million to Paris Saint-Germain?
I'd personally say it would be a good deal, really, because when you get a deal like this, it makes you question: are we going to regret it? Is he going to double his value in the next 2 years? Is he going to come back to haunt us when he plays against us? I think if he goes to PSG, I don't think he starts in that midfield. So I don't think he develops as a player. And so that means his value doesn't go up that much. And if you are to face PSG, I don't think he starts against you. Maybe in 5 years' time, but as of right now, maybe not. So if this was one of your best players, like an Aubameyang or something like that, or a Lacazette,
or Torreira even.
Torreira, you'd say no way, because he's a massive asset to your team, and you know he'll improve PSG, and it could come back to haunt you, and his resale value could be double that in a year or two.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
I feel Guendouzi, I don't think he'll start for PSG.
Yeah,
like you
I
said,
agree.
You can reinvest that 60 million into a proper defence.
Well, the source of this story has told me that as we speak, as it stands, it's unlikely that PSG will pay as much as 60 million for a 19-year-old. But there could be negotiations if Arsenal do hear an offer that opens their ears a bit. So it's looking unlikely now, but you never know. This is really an open door case.
I'd like to add just one final bit on that point, that if somehow we do get a big offer for Guendouzi, as much as we all think that he's a brilliant player, I just don't see a reason. I think I'd go as far as to say that we'd be foolish not to take it at this stage.
Yeah. See, I'm stuck in the middle with this one. I think Guendouzi, we need to try and keep hold of our players rather than keep selling them. But at the same time, 60 million for a 19-year-old is a very, very good offer.
Yeah, I mean, because I look at it in a way where, from where we are now, it's not it long term. He might bring us a lot of success. He might be a brilliant player for us. But again, where we are now, and with the amount of reinforcements we need to become competitive again, we need to take a deal like this when it comes.
Yeah. And the last transfer story for this week is Callum Hudson-Odoi. So this is in good news for Chelsea fans. Bayern Munich have been knocking on their door, but now Paris Saint-Germain have joined the chase for Hudson-Odoi. What's your thoughts on this, Uber?
Well, see, this is a guy, and this is a situation where I think if the clubs sell him, they're making a huge mistake. Because I think Chelsea don't have any way of keeping Eden Hazard anymore. I think he's off this summer, whether it's to Real Madrid or somewhere else. I think he's definitely leaving.
I agree.
And I think if they sell Hudson-Odoi, they are making a huge, huge mistake because this kid looks absolutely dynamite. Obviously, he scored tonight in the Europa League, and he's someone who has pace, skill, has 2 feet on him. Is someone who can just grow and mature more, and physically he'll develop. And like I said with Joao Felix, like it's with Joao Felix, it's if he comes to the Premier League, he's going to be dosed in a certain way where you're not going to see him every week because he needs to put in a lot of work in the weight room to actually be fit enough to play in a high-tempo physical league like the Premier League. But Callum Hudson-Odoi, when you put him on a pitch with Premier League players, he already looks as someone similar to a young Raheem Sterling, who isn't necessarily a strong player, but is someone who's very well balanced, that he can ride a challenge. So when he gets past the player, when he gets clipped, he's going to stay on his feet. And that's one thing I'm really impressed about this kid. And that's why I think he's a perfect supplement, perfect substitute to Hazard. And it'd be a huge mistake for Chelsea to sell him.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on this, Sanj?
100% agree. This kid looks like he is a huge prospect, a massive talent. Like with before previous players, you know, I know Salah and Kevin De Bruyne weren't their youth, but and they didn't really know, they didn't show enough. This kid, he's showing a lot, and like I feel he should be starting. Like we look at Willian, we look at Pedro. A lot of Chelsea fans and rival fans are saying they're finished. They're in their 30s. They seem to be getting worse with every game. They've got this young talent who looks like he's like better than his age suggests. Like he's a lot more mature.
Yeah.
Like
do you think he has do you think he has a potential to get to Mbappe's level, for example?
That's a big ask, because Mbappe hit the scene in the Champions League straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, if Hudson-Odoi leaves Chelsea, he might get Champions League football, but to go to PSG and sit behind Mbappe and Neymar, that's going to be a...
Well, the source to the story has told me that Bayern Munich, it seems inevitable now that in the summer Bayern will sign him. But if Paris Saint-Germain want him so badly, they come through with a huge offer, it could derail Bayern Munich.
Either way, I think Chelsea should not accept.
Yeah.
He should be the future. Because...
Well, my source has said it's looking likely whether it is Bayern, and it's looking most likely Bayern, or it is PSG. That is pretty much Hudson-Odoi is going in the summer.
Anyway, Tony, I got one last transfer rumor, not to trample on your segment, but I have I just want to put this in because I've heard it from some of my, I wouldn't say sources, but people I know, because I'm obviously based in Zagreb. I'm based in Croatia.
I might have heard it then. My source might have mentioned it. Go ahead. You never know.
I went to the Dinamo game tonight. I was in the North Stand, loud and proud, with the rest of my Bablu Boys brethren, and I heard from a friend who knows some people that our midfield playmaker Dani Olmo, a huge attacking midfield prospect in world football, is rumored to be on the lookout. So not lookout, but Borussia Dortmund seemed to have cast their eye towards Dani Olmo as the eventual successor of Mario Götze in attacking midfield, and the price rumored seems to be around 30 million euros. So, what's your thought on that, Tony? I'm sure you've heard about Dani Olmo.
I've heard about him. I must admit, as someone who usually hears about the majority of transfer rumours, I haven't heard about this rumour until now. I've seen him play a few times. He does seem a young prospect. And for Dortmund, as you know, obviously Götze hasn't had the best of times since returning, so it could be a good investment for Dortmund.
Yeah. I'd just like to say that I know this because I've heard that Borussia Dortmund scouts, one of their leading scouts, was in the boardroom level, not necessarily boardroom level. He was in one of the boxes tonight at the game. So that's what I've heard from my friend, that a scout from Borussia Dortmund, one of their leading scouts, was watching Dani Olmo tonight.
Yeah,
and he had a brilliant game.
I might need to sell news on this rumour to my sources.
Yeah. Well, again, I wouldn't like to take credit for it, but this is my friend does know a lot of the people that circulate around the club, so
yeah.
He's very well informed in terms of which scouts come and go through the boxes and which clubs are looking at which Dinamo players, and
yeah.
Dortmund has been looking at Olmo for a while.
None of my sources have mentioned this particular story.
Well, it is. He Olmo is a guy who's kind of going under the radar, if you will, when it comes to all of these prospects that play in bigger leagues. But he is someone who, in Europe this season in particular, has proven that on the European level, he's someone that stands out against pretty high level competition, and he stood out tonight. He had brilliant moments. He's a great passer of the ball. Has some wonderful tricks and flicks up his back. He's a brilliant ball carrier, and certainly, what I've heard of Dinamo's asking price is 25 to 30 million. So that's why I mentioned the price, which is Dinamo have him rock solid under a contract that lasts for another 4 years. So he wouldn't go anywhere unless it's a fee that meets the requirements of the club. Anyway, now it's time to move on to a preview of this weekend in league matches, and we'll start off with the big one. Manchester United facing Liverpool at Old Trafford. The old enemies meet once again. Sanj, you have the honor.
Oh, tough. Hatred. Never liked this game. Never, ever liked this game. Shoes on the other foot this time. We're the title challengers, and they're just trying to stop us. It's usually us doing it to them. But this is a game you look for when the fixtures are released. You look for it, but we don't enjoy it. We want to avoid it. Both sets of fans hate this fixture. They can only enjoy it if they're 2-0 up, 2 goals to the good, with only 30 seconds left to play.
What's your prediction for the game, the result?
Oh, it's really hard. I'm not confident with the way they're playing and how we haven't been great since the turn of the
year. Yeah.
It could be United win, but I'm going to go for a draw. I feel Liverpool going to go.
Uber prediction? Score prediction?
I don't have a score prediction, but I have a funny feeling that Liverpool will break their duck at Old Trafford for the simple reason of, listen, Virgil van Dijk did not play midweek. He's going to be fully fit and ready for this one. Dejan Lovren seems to be coming back. So obviously, if they have a fit Lovren and a fit Van Dijk, that means that Lukaku is pretty much going to be neutralized because he can't bully anyone on that team, especially if Lovren is fit. Because I think if they have Lovren and Van Dijk, there's no weak links in that Liverpool defense. If Matip is playing, I think that's a shaky point. I don't know if you agree, Sanj.
Are you saying Lovren is a better defender to have than Matip?
Yes. Then. Cheers, Tony.
Apologies.
Sounds like Tony's allergic to Lovren.
I always sneeze when I say Gonky as well.
Obviously, you guys would prefer to have Joe Gomez, but I just feel like Lovren is far more secure than Matip. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's really weird with Lovren. Like, he is a very dodgy defender, but his errors are catastrophic, but they're very rare.
Yes.
And the games where he doesn't have them, he looks like a world-class defender.
Yes.
He looks like one.
Yes.
He's had brilliant performances in a Liverpool shirt. You think, this guy's brilliant. And then he has a catastrophic one where you just think, why did we buy him? Why is he in our team? Why does he start every game?
Yeah.
But with Van Dijk, he's improved massively. Out of all players, like the entire back four has improved, but he's improved the most with Van Dijk coming last January.
Yeah. I mean,
Croatia with the strength over Matip, possibly. But if I remember last year, Lovren was the targeted weakness last year. But that was Jose Mourinho. It's Oli now, so I don't know if he has the same tactics or idea.
Yeah. But Croatia was the same. It's the same thing with Lovren. Like you said, it's like he doesn't make a lot of errors. He looks like a world-class defender 4 out of 5 games. And then the 5th game, he has an absolute stinker, and he makes a huge error that ends up costing you a goal. But in Croatia, he used to play with Vedran Čorluka, and then he started playing with Domagoj Vida recently, and he literally became same thing with Van Dijk. He just has a chemistry with the guy and looks absolutely rock solid. And Vida is someone who's very, very similar to Virgil van Dijk in style of play. Not necessarily.
Yeah, I agree.
Not necessarily leadership and intelligence, but just in terms of
brings the best out of him.
Yeah, but in terms of sort of being aerially powerful, sort of combative center back, it's the perfect guy to pair with Lovren, who is a guy who likes to play the ball out the back, and he is legitimately really good with the ball at his feet.
I must say, apologies to Sanj, but I am predicting a 2-0 win to United this week.
Fair enough.
I think based on form, United are pretty strong right now.
But again,
and Liverpool are under a lot of pressure.
Again, Manchester United, I have to point this out. Manchester United have Lingard injured for sure, and Martial is questionable, but it's quite likely that he won't play. So, to me, I think this is a chance for Liverpool to sort of get the monkey off their back and finally win at Old Trafford.
Yeah. I agree. It's now or never. I can only remember 2 wins since the turn of the year. I mean, like 2000. That was the 4-1 in like 2009 and the 3-0 in 2014.
Yeah, you haven't won. So Liverpool haven't won since 2014 at Old Trafford.
Mm-hmm.
So Jurgen Klopp has never won at Old Trafford with Liverpool. It's basically it's now or never. Yep, it is.
Literally, like, we've had so many good opportunities this year. Like City with falling off, losing to Leicester, Palace, Newcastle. It was literally like perfect. We threw that opportunity away. It's still in our hands, but that opportunity's gone. we've now got Manchester United, are possibly a weak one without Martial, without Lingard. Their defence has improved, but it's probably the weakest defence we may have faced in United history.
Yeah.
And so, it's just a massive. It's like if we can just keep Pogba and Rashford quiet, we've got every chance of winning this game. But that's big if, easier said than done.
If you lose this game, do you think the title's done?
Probably. Like points wise, it won't look like it. You think you're still level on points with City, and they still have to go to Old Trafford.
Yeah.
But I think mentally, the psychological effect of losing to Man United and the pressure, everyone's saying the pressure's got to you, you've bottled it again, this, that, and the other. Psychologically and mentally, it will probably affect the players.
Yeah.
Finally enough, in other leagues, the other big one this weekend is Barcelona traveling to the Estadio Sánchez Pizjuán to Sevilla. And Sevilla are a team who are not very good away from home, but they're extremely good at home. And I think it could be a game where Barcelona again could slip up, and quite possibly, to the dismay of both of us, Tony, let Atletico Madrid actually back in the title race, because Atletico are 7 points behind Barcelona. So if Barcelona lose this game at Sevilla, it would be just 4 points between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, and then obviously anything can happen because of how shaky Barcelona have looked at times this season.
I still doubt it. Like, as I said, Atletico, the Spanish Tottenham, they bottle it even when the chances are gone in their favour. The title's not going to Atletico. If Barcelona bottle it, Real Madrid will catch up somehow.
Yep. And Atletico play Villarreal at home. Villarreal, who have picked up their first win in 10 games last time out. And it should be a pretty routine job for Atletico Madrid, but with them in La Liga, you never know, because they did lose. Before winning last weekend at Rayo Vallecano, they did lose the 2 previous games with Real Madrid and Betis, both winning against Atleti. So the Juve game should give them a boost, but it might, again, take some of their energy, and they are a pretty energy-reliant team. So you never know. But we might have a title race in Spain at the end of this weekend. And the final game I'm personally excited for this weekend, and it's a game that I'll definitely be watching after Man United and Liverpool finish their game, and Arsenal and Southampton I'll be watching on a second screen. Is at 6 o'clock European Central Time, 5 o'clock UK time. It's Borussia Dortmund against inform Bayer Leverkusen. And this, guys, should be a cracker, because Borussia Dortmund have drawn 3 of their last 5 games. Actually, their last 3 games were all draws, and Borussia Dortmund's defense is still looking shaky with Manuel Akanji and Lukas Piszczek out injured, and they haven't looked all that well without them. And Bayer Leverkusen are obviously in tremendous form going forward. They have scored a total of 13 goals in their last 4 league games, and I think that has potential to be an absolutely thrilling game. So after you're done watching whatever happens in the old enemies derby at Old Trafford, if you need to cheer yourself up, Sanj, it's the perfect opportunity, because I think this is going to be a very, very fun game.
Yeah, I hope so. I might need it after the result. But yeah,
Listen.
Dortmund need it.
Yeah.
5 games without a win. showing a bit of how young their squad might be and a bit inexperienced and that they're feeling the pressure a little bit.
Yeah, I think if Dortmund win this game, Dortmund are in strong position of the league. I think it's pretty much cemented.
Yeah, but again, 3 draws, their last 3 games out, last time out, a 0-0 draw against bottom placed Nuremberg. So they are a bit shaky, and Leverkusen have a ton of pace going forward. They're very, very intriguing with 2 brilliant players in Kai Havertz and Julian Brandt. And it should be very interesting. Of course, Leon Bailey as well, Kevin Folland, Karen Bellarabi. It should be an absolutely cracking game. So if you love football, and obviously if you listen to this podcast you do, I suggest you check that game out, because it should be an absolute, end-to-end ding-dong clash of high tempo football. And on that point, I would like to end the Rant Boys for this new 2 pods a week edition. This is our second pod. We've made it for you guys to listen to over the weekend. We will be back on Monday when we record, and the next pod should drop on Tuesday. This one is dropping, I think, while you're listening to this, it will be Friday or the weekend. So everyone have a good weekend. We hope your teams do well, unless
except Tottenham.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Except Tottenham. Oi! Fuck off, you mug!
I was thinking, is this guy going to make an appearance?
Yeah, and me too. But, he has to get in. Good old Spence.
He's a hacker.
Yeah.
Will he be here for the podcast after the North London derby?
Oh. You bet I will, mate. I'll make all of you gooners understand who the best team in the world is. It's Tottenham. And we're going to do well this weekend because we always win. Poch, yeah, my man. He's going to get us the title this year. I told you. We're winning the double. Premier League and Champions League. Enough from me. I'm back on Monday when I'm going to tell you how wrong all of you were on Poch and my Spurs. Because we're going to win again. Heung-min Son with a hat-trick. Book it. Unbelievable.
Wow.
I mean, we went a whole podcast, he didn't appear, and then you have to summon him, Tony. I mean, this is...
There's a conspiracy here. There's a conspiracy.
I'm gonna blame it on you, but it's because you said you didn't want Tottenham to do well, and he just appears whatever you say Tottenham doesn't do well. It's if you have in your life ever wished ill on Tottenham, don't worry, Spencer will come in your dreams and he will haunt you, listener.
Bring it on.
Anyway, our thoughts are with our guys Dan and Ash, who are ill and could not make an appearance on this podcast. Shout outs to them. Woogie had some business to take care of, and he was stuck at uni for a while, so he couldn't make it either. But this was really fun with you, Tony, and of course you, Sanj. Cheers for making it.
Yeah, thank you, Sanj.
No worries. Pleasure as always.
Guys, this has been all from the Rant Boys for this week. We are back with 2 pods again next week. Hopefully we'll have another exciting week of football ahead. Remember to subscribe, rate, and especially share to your friends. Please, guys, we're trying to get this thing off the ground, and we're not as high-tech and as well-funded as Don Robbie and Arsenal Fan TV, and as much as of a juggernaut they've turned Ultimate Football Fan into, and funding Terry and all of those guys, and your nemesis Adam, Tony.
Oh, jeez.
We are very much a low budget operation over here by one guy in Croatia and a certain man with sources in London trying to put this thing together.
I've got my sauces
And
and my digestives and my cream cakes and my bacon sarnies.
Good night, everybody.
So remember, guys, and also follow us at TonyArsenal1 on Twitter and then Orbu G Bang Yang.
I think it's just Obama G Yang on Twitter.
There we go. And of course at Rant_boys as too.
Yeah, and remember to share with your friends, please, guys. Help us get this thing off the ground, because this is a movement for you, the fans. We are fans like you, and we are interested in bringing opinions of the young people, the young fans. We are not old, tired, and straddled with children like Mark Goldbridge and DT, and football is our release, and all we have to do is rant about Phil Jones's pink boots and fly banners on Arsene Wenger. We don't have that kind of money. The only kind of money we have is to produce this podcast for free. And so we hope that come next week, there is one more subscriber on our YouTube feed. So 1 week, one subscriber. It's gonna work. Guys.
Yeah. Good night.
As Del Boy says, this time next year, we'll be millionaires.
We'll be millionaires.
Yeah, baby. Good night from the RantBoys.